you think Moses ever felt unappreciated or unnoticed? You think he was ever tempted to remind the Israelites, it's like, guys, I didn't even want to do this for you. I left a really good gig in order to come and rescue you from the Egyptians. And then he did, and it was hard going toe-to-toe with Pharaoh, and it was hard even convincing a lot of the Israelites that this was the right thing and the right guy at the right time. And of course, he went through the wilderness with all the Israelites and suffered through all the same things they did. Except there wasn't anyone else in a position like his where people were constantly criticizing him, wanting to throw stones at him and kill him, and saying, boy, life was a lot better before you walked into my life. And then how often do you think somebody else in Israel took the time to ask Moses, hey, Moses, how are you doing? I know you got a lot on your plate. How are you doing? Then they get to Mount Sinai. That was all before they got to Mount Sinai. Then they get to Mount Sinai, and God gives them the 10 Commandments. Then they leave Mount Sinai, and it just happens all over again and again, over and over, again and again. The complaining, the arguing, the bickering, and nobody asking him how he's doing. How are you doing? How are you really doing? You doing okay? I bet you can sometimes feel like Moses through this whole thing. You already had a plate that was really full of responsibility, but then suddenly everything changed and more stuff got thrown on your plate, and people just expect you to do it and to handle it as if you've done it well your whole life. And then when it doesn't go well, somebody criticizes you. When it does go well, rather than lead with a thank you, they lead with the one thing you could have done differently. And then they never ask how you're doing once they get what they want from you. They just keep going on with their life. That can be really hard on the emotions to be unnoticed, unappreciated. Which is why I think maybe God gave Moses the experience he did on Mount Sinai. So do you know what happened on Mount Sinai? Of course, on Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, but there's something else that we're told happened on Mount Sinai. Before those commandments were actually, the stone tablets were actually in Moses' hands. In Exodus chapter 24, God invited Moses and Aaron and Nadab and Abihu to leave the rest of the Israelites behind and come up to the mountain where he was going to give them the 10 Commandments. But before he handed them the 10 Commandments, he told them to sit down. And it says, when they sat down, they saw God, and they ate, and they drank. Who do you think provided that meal for them on Mount Sinai? And how do you think that tasted? To have a meal prepared by God. And how do you think it felt? Knowing that God prepared that meal for them because he knew they were hungry. He knew they were thirsty. He knew that they needed some rest. And he gave it to them. And how does it feel knowing that he has given you the same thing? That's how the Bible describes heaven, as a feast with God that will satisfy your heart in the most perfect ways. Except it's a little different than the feast on Mount Sinai. On the feast on Mount Sinai, they had to go walking back down the mountain again. And I bet as they went that gave him a lot of encouragement as he jumped back into his daily activities. With the feast in heaven, you'll never have to walk away. It'll just be there. And you will no longer be hungry or thirsty. And you will always be at rest. No anxiety, no worry. All because of a God who already notices you, who promises in Christ to treat you for eternity as the one person on earth that he appreciates the most, who knew how to provide a great feast on a mountain in the middle of a desert. And wherever you are in your journey, knows exactly how to provide for you. Rest well tonight, my friends. Your God sees you. He notices you. He loves you.